Hello everyone and welcome back to the Saints View, the place for Southampton content ahead of our massive game with Fulham at Craven Cottage on Saturday. Both sides will be desperate for wins as they look to ease away from the relegation zone and danger, as neither of them have had the greatest starts to their Premier League seasons. Of course, Fulham will be under new management in Claudio Ranieri after Slavisa Jokanovic was sacked pretty early on into the international break. It felt quite savage from Fulham, but will that necessarily be an advantage to them? I'm not too sure, and we'll get into that a bit later. And of course, Southampton decided to stick with Mark Hughes for the time being. Now, going into Southampton, of course, it's not been good. It is very, very simply put. You know, the performance against Watford before the international break was there. Like it was a decent performance, but we're still not doing enough, in my opinion, to win football matches, which is really worrying to see. Of course, we could argue that we should have beaten Watford, given the fact that Charlie Austin's goal was wrongly ruled offside, but of course Watford could have had a penalty and probably would have scored it. So you can keep arguing, but at the end of the day we were 1-0 up still, we didn't manage the game, and in the end we had to settle for another draw. And there seems to be a lot of pressure when it comes into games that we're playing at home. Obviously we haven't won at home yet this season, which is ridiculous. So for a crucial game like this, maybe it'll be better actually that we're playing away, because there'll be less pressure on Southampton. Obviously Fulham will be in front of their own fans, desperate to get a result. They've only won once this season and they're bottom of the league. So we could see a bit more of a confidence Southampton performance and take advantage of a Fulham side that could be a little bit worried. Of course, we've had the international break, so it's been an extra fortnight without Premier League action. But of course, they're back, and maybe the break would have benefited Southampton. Obviously, we're still under the same management, which most fans aren't happy about. But the there was something to build on in the performance against Watford. Obviously, Mark Hughes introduced his third formation of the season, which obviously says to me that he doesn't know his best side yet, even though he's been managing the team for 20 Premier League games already. The 4-3-3, I'm sure Manolo Gabbiadini out on the left and right, it alternated, but he was on the wing, which we've never really seen with Manolo Gabbiadini, and of course he got a goal. He was very impressive, I thought. So we may be seeing an improved version of this 4-3-3. Maybe they've worked on that over the break with the players that obviously didn't go onto international duty, and there weren't actually that many. We have quite a few internationals despite how poor we actually are right now. Also, I think fans are calling this a six-pointer. I don't believe in six-pointers in November. That's just because we've only played 12 games. You know, you can't have a six-pointer yet. However, is the game important for Saints, and is it important that they win? It's vital, in my opinion. I think with a draw or a loss, it won't really matter, because the chances are results will go against us and we will be made to pay if we don't win this game, going down into the bottom three, which of course isn't the worst thing right now. Given that it would have been 13 games played, we'd still have 25 left, if my maths is correct there. But no one wants to see their team in the bottom three. We shouldn't be in the bottom three with this team we have. So I think we really need to go all out to win this game on Saturday. What's more, which is probably another reason really why we need to go out and get all 3 points on Saturday, is our winter schedule is not very forgiving. Our next two games are Man United at home and Spurs away in the space of, I believe, 3 or 4 days, which is not going to be fun at all. But there are also opportunities to get points on the board. We've got away trips at Cardiff and Huddersfield in December. So if we could somehow, given the current form, it doesn't look likely, but if we could somehow beat Fulham, Cardiff and Huddersfield away, that'd be 9 points in the space of a couple of games. We wouldn't have to worry too much about the games against the top 6 that we have. Obviously, Man United, Spurs, Arsenal come down to Southampton at some point. Man City late December. West Ham will also come down in late December. So I think if we could get the wins against Fulham, Huddersfield and Cardiff, then we'll be a little bit more safe and have a little bit less pressure, if that makes sense. Obviously, we need to win a home game at some point. But let's go into our opponents. We haven't talked about them very much. Fulham. Now, obviously, I'm not the Fulham expert. We have got an expert on Fulham in the opposition preview, which will be out later on. But it seems like with the squad they've invested in, because obviously they spent a lot of money in the summer, they shouldn't be where they are. But for me, I even thought before the season started, they've spent £100 million, but have they really invested into their defence properly? Because they got Fosu Mensah and Callum Chambers on loan deals. Now, neither of them to me sound like fantastic options in defence, especially given they're on loan as well. Obviously, they're both still young. Callum Chambers left us very early on, and it's kind of sad to see him going on loan after he signed for Arsenal permanently. Should have stayed with us. But yeah, I think, look, obviously they've been shipping goals like mad. 31 goals, I believe, after 12 games is very close to a Premier League record, if it isn't one already. So there's hope for Southampton to get in behind that defence and score a couple, potentially, at least one, surely. But of course, as mentioned before, Claudio Ranieri has come in to replace Jokanovic, and we know from seeing his title-winning Leicester side, defence is very solid under Ranieri. However, we didn't really see that in his second season at Leicester. He left them very close to the bottom three if they weren't in the bottom three, so there was a bit of a mix there. So we don't actually know what Ranieri may bring to Fulham. I think he's got a great squad of players at his disposal, arguably better overall than what he had at Leicester. So, Fulham fans could be quite excited with what Ranieri has to offer. But earlier on in the video, I said I don't think that having a new manager will help Fulham in this game as much as some people think, because obviously there's a bounce when a new manager comes in. But I think there are quite a few problems really deep into that Fulham side, and I think most of the players would have been disappointed that Jokanovic had been sacked. Obviously, he played a big part in getting them up to the Premier League in the first place, had a good couple of seasons at Fulham down in the Championship, and then obviously took them up last season through the playoffs. And I think some of the players would have respected Jokanovic, enjoyed him, especially the ones who played under him in the Championship. So we'll see. Obviously, Ranieri's had 2 weeks almost to work with the squad, and then obviously those who were on international duty would have come back. But this game kind of feels like Crystal Palace away last season. Early on, we came back from the international break. Palace had lost all 4 of their first games, and they brought in Roy Hodgson. And we were their first game under Roy Hodgson. It was at Selhurst Park, and we won 1-0. And Palace could have scored a couple, but they just weren't there. And we could have had a couple more. And I think we deserved the win that day. And I think it could be, hopefully, one of those again on Saturday where, they've had the international break, they brought the manager in quickly, but the problems lie a lot deeper than just who's coaching this side, and it takes a little bit longer for them to bounce. However, Crystal Palace were fine at the end of the season, so if Fulham finish 11th, I think their fans will be quite happy given their start. Okay guys, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you do want a little bit more insight on the Fulham side of things, be sure to check out our opposition preview video with the Fulhamish podcast. That will be coming out soon after this video is uploaded, if you're watching straight after this is uploaded. Of course, if you're watching a little bit later on, both videos should be up for your pleasure. I'm going to go with the 1-0 win to the Saints. I think if I'm making the point that's a bit like Crystal Palace away last year, I'm going to stick with my point. And I think we might score a bit earlier and sort of worry Fulham a little bit. Obviously, I'm going to go with the Italian stallion, Manolo Gabbiadini, to get that goal. And the rest of the game is going to be incredibly nervy for the fans in the away end. Be sure to like the video as well and comment. We want to hear from you. Put in the comment section what you think about the game. Is it a must win? Can we call it a 6-pointer already, even though it's still only November? And of course, follow us on our socials, please, and do subscribe to the channel. We've only been around for just under a month, but we'd like to be on 100 subscribers. We're quite close to it, and it'll be a really nice round sum to start off the month, and it'll be a very promising figure to have after short time. So thank you for watching, and hopefully we will see you at Craven Cottage on Saturday.